I wanted to go on and ask you about crisis management, because you also mentioned crisis management that you had the I don't know if I want to call it pleasure of dealing with, but it is some sort of challenge that every team goes through. I don't think there is a successful team that doesn't go through a crisis of whatever magnitude, big, small, whatever it is, but sometimes multiple crises in a season. But how do you approach it when you identify there's a crisis, whether it's a losing streak or there's a conflict with the team or there's a fight in on the court between two players in practice? How do you approach a crisis? And each crisis is different, that I just mentioned. It's completely different approaches to all of them. But is there a general approach that you have, that you're going to point to a meeting, you're going to talk to a certain person in the organization? Who's the first one you're going to approach? So like, talk to me a little bit about the management part.
Okay, most of the crises I had to deal with were never related to players fighting one another. So I can't tell you how I would behave on stage. If it happens, I'll call you, I'll let you know. But I'm a very respectful man, and I try to understand what the reasons are for one behavior, okay, or the other behavior. Most of the crises are result related. And I go back and I repeat myself to the "we competed great" type of statement, because, you know, the result is the ambition, not the goal. The goal is to get the best out of your personnel, for example, to make it, okay, to have the chance to fulfill your ambition. It's okay, in Italian the word is tecnicismo, but it changes the whole perspective. And I'm not saying this because it's a catchphrase. I'm saying this because I have to focus on the performance. You know, Zdenek Zeman said once that the result is accidental, but the performance is not. And you need to have a cold mind, enough cold mind, in order to distinguish the two things. You know, am I losing the game because the others outperformed us? Am I losing the game because of you were in CSKA when Kriapa turned the ball over against Maccabi Milan? I'm sorry to open an old wound, but
we open up the can of worms right now. Let's go.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
So the bounce of the ball was not regular because there was an awkward area on the parquet. So who are you going to blame for? Okay, you should have been in that position. You were up 10, 3, 4 minutes to go, whatever the case it was, you know, but yeah, it's still a Final Four. I mean, how can you take things for granted in a Final Four? And by the way, the underdog team won that year, if you remember, and you do. And I know you do. The crisis with the results is you need to show unity. You have to be coherent. You know, there was a player that one time refused to play, refused to check into the game during the game because he was mad at the referees. He had, you know, he was mad. I'm not going to play. I'm out of here. I'm done. So, but you need the guy. So how do you handle a situation like that? Like Nicola says, you need to see the future in that sense. So, okay, you don't want the guy, you pull the trigger, the guy's out. Probably even for a right cause or something. So you have a reason to, he's in breach of contract. He's basically not going to work.
Yes.
But as a club, you may want to have an edge on a guy, especially the guys who cause trouble. And you want to keep him on a short leash. It's an example I'm just giving, you know. There are complicated personalities and there are guys who can see through you in that sense. And they can spot. So, you know, on one end, you need to have the ability to inspire, but on the other end, you need to have the ability to manipulate. Mm-hmm. It sounds really bad, okay? But look, I can't go in details, but, you know, there was a famous coach years ago that, you know, when his player, you know, got caught drunk driving and had a car accident and hurt the guy, whatever. I mean, the player was freaking out for being thrown out and I got no future here and there. And this coach was smart enough to go there and, basically tell him, you're going to be okay. We're going to take care of you. Don't worry about anything. This guy was in jail. Okay. And guess what? This guy's played for the same coach for 10 years. So, and they've been accomplishing quite a lot together. This is a story that I was told by the back then assistant coach of that team. So I'll relata refero. So I'm telling you. So, you can say he inspired him. You can say he felt he owed him a debt, or he just manipulated him. Any way you look at it, he was capable of reaching the guy.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how you do it, in my opinion.
I totally agree, and I completely see that. And it's very subjective. It's from person to person. It's different, but you have to have a feel for people in that regard to understand. All right, this guy, he will appreciate if I show strength, and I do not punish him. I do not kick him out just because it says on the book in the 101 of management that if you do this, you'll be fired. But I show him a helping hand. I give him a helping hand, and he will pay me back triple the what he normally would have paid back. And I have an example from my times in Germany when my father was the head coach, and there was guys that we put on contracts on tryouts because we brought him in, and in the second division it's more like it's easier to do those kind of contracts with a tryout. And my father, because he played, he had a feel for the person, he had a feel for the player, that he's just too uptight. He's too uptight. I can see that the tryout period is above his head, and it's just like, man, I can see the talent in him. I can see it's just that he needs to get these extra 10% off his shoulders to perform well. And you make a gut call. You make a gut decision in that regard. I was like, man, and we had 9 out of the 10 times, and there was one particular that didn't work out, but 9 out of the 10 times it worked out because it just exponentially got better and the team played better because the trial period was off of him. So it's not like crisis management per se, but it is certain kind of knowledge of people and knowledge of the situation, which comes with experience and with a certain amount of emotional intelligence, I guess, as well.
Yeah, definitely. It happens very often that once you go up to the kid and you say like, well, we decided to go separate ways, then the guy has the best game of his career.
Yeah,
has
exactly.
a career game.
Yeah.
Because you know what?
No pressure. Yeah.
I remember a movie line of The Usual Suspects. How to spot a murderer. You say you arrest 3 guys. The guy that's sleeping in the morning is your guy because he can rest. He knows he got caught. So that's what I compare the thing to. But let me tell you one thing, if I can steal you 30 seconds about the crisis. When we were in Bamberg, I remember one of the very first games that I attended was the home game with Bayern, and we won big. We won by 20 or something. And I remember the owner wanted to give us a bonus or something like that, which I rejected. I said, no, it's a regular season game. Why do you want to pay a bonus? No, says this is, we already get paid to perform well. It's not an accomplishment winning in the regular season. Okay. So, 3 weeks later, we play Eurocup still against Bayern. We're in the same group. And we lost by 38 at home. Okay. And I remember, in Italy, they would wait for you outside of the arena. They would beat the crap out of you. Okay. But here in Bamberg, everybody was in shock. Okay. Now, I remember that was a kind of a turning point because he put us in a position to be the underdogs. Mm-hmm. There are 40 points between us and them. They are the defending champions. They have a very deep rotation with all the German guys we have. It doesn't matter whether I feel our team is better than theirs or is going to end up being the better team when the time comes. I basically played the role of the underdog because I knew that the moment we got overconfident, we lost by 40. That was, and this is why I say that the biggest of the issues we had, even back in Biella, happened, occurred when we were winning, not when we had trouble. When we had trouble, we became like a rugby team. I remember fighting to save the division, which we did by losing in Bologna to Fortitudo. You can imagine the way I felt that day, at Paladozza, and we had to wait for the result coming from Livorno. But still, the moment you are overconfident, that's when you do the biggest bullshit, and excuse my language, but because, you relax and you're like, I think I'm good. The moment you start thinking you're good, it's the moment you should quit. Because, it's like, I can't remember if it was John Wooden saying, how would you do it all over again if you think you know it all,
Yeah.
And sometimes you just have to do it. And that's why, going back on the professional definition, you have a window, you have a time frame where you can really do, you can get the best out of your years in a club. And then inevitably you're going to consume yourself, and you need to be smart enough to know when it's time to leave. Okay. When you, for example, you can't lead people through crisis. Today I was talking to the agent of one of our players, and I told him, like, I read once, the person who gets out of the storm is not the person who walks into the storm. And that's what the storm is all about, So how, it's development of players. And this is one of the issues we have nowadays. You take an agent and the agent goes like, well, you need to let the guy go because he's a young guy, he's not playing this and that. No, he needs to fight through. If he can't fight this, you can't be coming in his rescue with a shortcut. You're sending the wrong message. It wasn't the case of the agent I spoke to today, but this is what you get most of the time. The guy should play. The guy should play if he deserves to play.
Exactly.
I handle the same, with the same type of principles. What happens with the team? We're not ready to be this good. We need to keep working. We need to change things. If you think you're good enough, then you should be winning every game.